Hey everyone, being able to add images into pages is by itself already complex. You got to put one in, you've got to align it left or right, you've got to constrain the width, constrain the height sometimes, and then that takes time. And then you want to not make it boring. So as you're putting the images in, you're trying to get them placed right, not strangely next to the title or something. And so this takes time and effort normally. Okay, man hours. Now the next thing is, what are you going to do for alt tags? There are a couple of options for alt tags. Because if I inspect, this image has no alt tag. None of them do, but they have a placeholder at the ready. So there's an expectation that we're going to put something there for an alt tag. And of course we will. It's very important for SEO to make sure we've done our job fully and done it correctly. And we want to make sure it's done right to all the images. A couple of notes I want to make about that. You can come up with standard stuff to use for alt tags. And some people go crazy with spam. They try to use the alt tag to say stuff like, call us now, where they throw in a bunch of keywords, you know. But Google's looking at the picture, okay, as a component of the page. And so Google's thinking, what does this picture have to do with this page? Why'd you put it here? You know. And so one of the best things you can do with images is to use something from the nearby print for your alt coding, something that makes sense. And I think one of the best versions of this usage I've seen, because that way you're just straight telling Google, I want this image to apply to something here that's local. Guess what it would be? That right there, the closest H2 tag. So I would want to normally make the alt code the same as the H2 tag to make this image belong to this section, to convince Google that I intentionally meant for this image to be here. Okay? Google likes that kind of thing. So then what should the alt coding for this image be? This H2 tag. Well, okay, say you were doing 6, 7, 8 images per page and you were doing it. You were creating the alt codes and you were copying this and pasting it in, and you went through all 62 pages. How long would it take you to do, right? The reason we're competitive is all of this is automated. That's one of the options we have for alt codes, but it's not the only one. Say you do want your images to represent something with variables. You know how we use variables, tokens. Then we have an option where you can do that. So just to point out the different things real fast, Control F, I'm going to put out, or get in here, 8 images. Let me get here. Okay, right here, I just want to show you. I can update my alt tag. I can put in the domain. And what do you think this does? That first thing I was discussing. Okay, so it'll use the local H2 for each image all the way through the entire website, and it's done already. Okay, so if I were to look at this now, okay, see that? Understanding dry eye syndrome. And it's right here. Alt equals understanding dry syndrome. I know it's line wrapping here, but there you go. You see it. It's understanding. It's exact matching this so that it's crystal clear to Google that we meant for that. This one should say introducing the iTier 100 device, right? Let's see if it does. Yep. Introducing. Again, the line wrapping gets the first letter over there. But anyway, you see it. Okay, now this is true on every single page. Even if I go into the sitemap deep and I flip through here, I've got understanding eye strain in the digital age. And it's there, understanding eye strain in the digital age. So you see, all of those images, like 7 times, it's over 400, it's 420 or 50 or something. Images are updated just like that in seconds. And yes, I could have run that through tons of domains at the same time. They could have been different industries, different locations, different projects, because they're each using their own local H2 tag off their own page. So yeah, I mean, extraordinary efficiency, right? Okay, so let me take a look at some other options that are pretty interesting, because I want to make some other questions. And here, this is interesting because I've got to explain this as a separate video. This is where we do this with DALL-E 3, okay? And on here, we're going to run through a couple of options. And so I'll break it down in a different video when I show you how we do DALL-E 3 through the websites. Because guess what? We can just as easily remove the images in seconds that we added. So, I mean, I can remove them all, complete with the altcodes, and then start over with the DALL-E 3 interpretation so you can see what that would be like. Okay, we created something called add attributes. There's a couple of choices for that. An image, in which case we're adding alt code, or an anchor, meaning wording, right? And we're going to add the rel, the rel tag for follow, no follow, UGC, sponsored, those things. What about images? Okay, with images, we do alt codes, right? That's exactly what we've been talking about the whole time. But instead of using the H2 tag, we can use values, okay? And our values could be, we've got an I-tier project, don't we? I-tier 100 device, you know, I-tier 100, I could make it a bunch of I-tier 100s anyway. And then I could put in stuff about dry eye. It could be like FAQs. And if I don't want to go that far, I can do other things, but whatever. A tier 100, I could even just make it I-tier, and then I-tier 100 with a space, because people type this stuff differently and remember this stuff differently. And then I could do something like how I-tier works, you know. Now, what else could I do if I wanted to do other things? I could use variables, keyword 1, and maybe I've got variables like a list of keywords in keyword 1. It means a keyword first column, number 1. Then this would be keyword second column, right? And then I could have something like a service 1 if I have a column for services. You know, and it could be something like service in Chicago if there's a reason for it, right? Or in city, right? And then that way, I'm creating totally different alt tags for my images, but they are wrapped around the things I care about.